And welcome back to the Financially Simple Experience. So friends, today we want to talk about business processes. Now, I want to deal with it from a different light. You know, I've been consulting businesses for over a decade, almost 2 decades now, helping business owners reach their dreams, reach their goals. But this year, my mind has changed slightly. With the sale of my previous companies and now working with countless business owners, I don't know how many off the top of my head, and working in a position of a chief strategy officer on the company which acquired my companies, I'm able to look backwards in time and see what worked and what didn't work. And as I look at various companies that we consult as a business advisory firm, as I listen to the business coaches talk about the entrepreneurs that they're working with and striving with and in the trenches with, helping them reach their goals, one thing is glaring obvious to me. The companies which have detailed and implemented processes are the companies which often yield the best results. Now, the results could be varied. It could be a revenue result. It could be a growth result. It could be a quality of life result. But there are results that the entrepreneur is driving for. So whenever I talk about business processes today, it's in a different framework than I've ever been before. I want to dive into processes on how you can deploy this simple but difficult technique into your company to help you reach your specific goals. First, let's deal with what is a business process. Well, Webster's in his dictionary defines a business process as a series of actions or operations conducted to an end. In other words, an activity or set of activities that accomplish a specific goal within your organization. You know, there are many processes in our business. More than likely, you can name a couple of dozen just if you stopped and wrote them down. For example, what is it like to open the office in the morning? What's the process for that? What's it like to send your crew out in the morning? What's it like to greet your first customer? What is it like to shut the office down, to bring your crews back in, to greet your last customer as they exit your company for the day? See, that's 5 or 6 processes right there. What's it like to order a part? What's it like to deal with a complaint? What's it like to deal with a new client? What's the marketing process? There are so many processes that help our business turn. So a process is simply an action to help us reach our goal. That's all a process is. Most business owners get that. In fact, I understand that one. Where we end up losing business owners and when we see the wheels fall off, where we see businesses become inefficient as opposed to those who implement this next phase are often more efficient, is this simple concept that is so hard to do. So I'm going to spend a little time here today, hopefully helping you in your business, driving the value or the goals that you desire for your business. The step number 2 is once we know what a process is, we have to identify the processes and put them in writing. You see, whenever we stop and we begin writing out the process and given each clarifying step, what we do is we create so many things that are valuable to our company. You see, as you pause and you look at the processes of your company and you start writing those out in detail, you're going to receive more efficiency. You're going to notice where your company is inefficient. You're going to be able to correct it. You're going to see where you have some concentration risk. You're going to see where you have inefficiency of employees. You're going to see where you have lost revenue as you're working through a process. So see, the ability to pause and put in writing the process actually creates more efficiencies. It does help you reach your goal. So there's 4 characteristics to a process that we have to know. First, a process has to be finite. In other words, it should have a very clear beginning and a very clear ending with a specific number of steps. I often give the illustration of, my kids first started working for me back when I owned the company. They would do office management as one of their duties in terms of cleaning the offices. And I can remember the first time my daughter, at the time she was maybe 10, I don't remember exact age, but I said, "Sweetheart, go vacuum the floors." And she looked at me and she said, "Okay, Daddy, where's the vacuum?" I said, "It's in the closet." She goes, "Which closet?" "The closet by the bathroom." "Okay, cool." So she went and got the vacuum cleaner out. And then what I noticed, like many children would do, she vacuumed in one little room, took the vacuum to another little room, and she was just all over the place. There was no consistency or fluidity to her movements. So the process for her ended up being a very finite beginning. That we're going to vacuum, get the vacuum out of the closet. And it was a very finite ending. Put the vacuum back in the closet. And there were some steps in between. So in your world, you have to notice the beginning and the ending. The second thing about a process is it has to be repeatable. What we're looking for are those things in our business which we do repetitive in nature. We do them consistently over and over and over again. And perhaps that may be, let's say, vacuuming the floors. Obviously, we all take care of our organization. Maybe it's washing a vehicle. Maybe it's hiring an employee. Maybe it's developing a marketing plan and implementing a marketing plan. Maybe it's the taxes that you have to file every year, the process on an annual basis for your tax prep. Maybe it's the annual requirements of your ERISA plan, your 401k plan, or something of that nature. But there is a repetitive nature to this, so that's a process. The third step in a process is it has to produce value. Every process needs to be tied to how it increases the throughput, how it increases value within the company. As you start looking at the processes of your company, no doubt you're going to find things that you currently do that you should stop doing. There's also ideas that you're going to see that, hey, we're not currently implementing this strategy. We need to start doing actions to this end. And so as you're looking to see, does the processes we currently employ, do they produce value? You're able to quickly identify if value is generated. And then finally, for a process, it is not in stone. It is not in stone. It's flexible. You see, one thing is certain is everything changes. Everything changes. Now, none of us like change. None of us like change. Let me say it again. No one likes change. So we try to build processes that are extremely rigid, only to see something changes. So a process has to be flexible. So as you're thinking through your business and you're saying, Justin, I know we have this process, just quickly ask yourself, if it's a process, is it finite, beginning and ending? Is it repeatable? Does it produce value? And is it flexible? If so, then you have a process. So now that we think about these processes, how do we identify the steps along the process? How do we identify the process? Think about the vacuum cleaner example. If I were going to identify the process, I need to first define the goal. The goal is to have clean floors. The goal is to not have any dust on the ground, right? So the goal is, when we're vacuuming, is to clean the floors. Simple scenario. So that's the very first step. So in order for me to now sit down and build a process, like I did for my young daughter at that point, it was, sweetheart, the goal is to clean the floors. Number two, it is to outline and begin mapping. I want to start very high in level and dive into the details. So what I did on a sheet of paper, she was watching me do this. I can remember it like it was yesterday. Oh my goodness, don't our kids grow up so fast? My goodness, they grow up fast. But I can remember her like she was yesterday. She was all eager to help Daddy vacuum the floors of the office. She was first time paying job. She grabbed the vacuum cleaner and she began, all over the place, like a little jackrabbit, moving all around. And I said, sweetheart, come here. Let's stop. Let's think about this. And what we did on a very elementary level was we began outlining and mapping. We started out with, the goal is to clean the floors. So, sweetheart, what's the first thing you do when you clean the floors? We get the vacuum. Where's the vacuum? In the closet. What do you do with the vacuum? You get it out of the closet, you unwind the cord. I mean, we went in super detail here. We began thinking about, okay, are you going to go right to left around the office? Are you going to go left to right? Where are you going to start? Are you going to start near the door? Are you going to start near the back corner of the office building? We began mapping out the details. Once she concluded throughout, move the chairs, vacuum underneath the chairs, vacuum the rug this way, vacuum the floors this way, pick the rug up, vacuum underneath the rug, vacuum the bathrooms. We're writing all these things out. Move the trash can, move the chairs. I mean, we're doing all these different things as we're outlining her process. And then it concluded with, turn the vacuum off, make sure the bag's not full. The bag's not full, wrap up the cord, put it back in the closet. Process done. You can do the same thing in your world. You start high. What's that 50,000 foot view? And then you start diving down. Now, mapping is cool. It's really fun to do. If you really get into it, you can start finding problems within your system. As we began mapping the financial planning process years ago, I had a certain way of doing things and we found problems. And we tried it and we found problems, and we tried it and we found problems. So that brings us to step number 3. After we identify the goal, after we map out the steps in the process, then we test it. Now look, in the testing phase, you want the thing to break early. Whatever your process is, you want to turn it over to the team or work it with yourself and see if the steps are perfect. You want to break it. You want to see if you're missing steps or if there's unnecessary steps which could be condensed. Right? Remember, the quickest way between 2 points is a straight line. We want a process to be the same way. We want our process to be hyper efficient. So we're going to test it. Now, once we get done with the testing, we move on to the fourth point, which is we want to implement. We want to bring this into our organization, introduce it to the entire organization, whatever the process is. Maybe it's a marketing process. Maybe it's an employee hiring process, a termination process, a computer software update process. Whatever it is within your company, we want to introduce it to the team. That's step number 4. All that's well and good. You've done a lot of work at this point, a lot of work. Here's where it falls apart, is adoption or execution. You see, you, the manager or the business owner, you have this grandiose idea and you can see a lot more than perhaps the employees that are underneath your care. You can see so much in terms of where the business is moving. But if your team doesn't grasp how that process meets their needs, or how that process helps them reach their goals, or how that process helps the company reach its goal. If you cannot get adoption by the team, then you've done everything for nothing. You've done a lot of work for nothing, and your business will not be as efficient as it could be. You could end up having greater company-specific risk, which drives down the value of your company because of inadoption or non-adoption of the processes. It also will prevent you, the business owner, from being decentralized from the business. There are so many things that are hinged upon execution and adoption. So you say, okay, Justin, I got it. And then number 3 is the excuse. The excuse. And I have no doubt right now that a few of you are saying, dude, don't you realize that I'm already working 70, 80 hours a week? I don't have time for this, man. Come on, brother. You are a business owner. You know what it's like. Boy, do I. Just last night, I was up almost at midnight. I had started my day at 7, and I was almost at midnight still crunching out some data points for a meeting that I had to do today. So, yeah, I know what it's like not to have time. I get it. But there's an old saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. You know, as business owners, we are amazingly creative. That's the word I want to use. We are amazingly creative when it comes to reaching something that we want to reach. If someone says we can't do something, we figure out how to do it. I may have told this story before, but my mom often teases me about black olives. I love black olives on a pizza. Love black olives. Evidently, I loved black olives for a long time. Whenever I was before I was 1 year of age, my mom had a bowl of black olives, and I fell in love with black olives. And I would reach over and I would get these cut black olives and eat them. Well, my mom reached over and she tapped my hand saying, no, don't eat it. So then I stuck my wrist out. She tapped my wrist saying, no, don't eat the olives. So I stuck my elbow out. She tapped my elbow as she's laughing saying, no, you can't touch the olives. So I stuck my whole face into the olives and she tapped the top of my head saying, no, don't eat the olives. I did everything I could to try to get the olives. Let's be honest. As business owners, if someone tells us no, we're going to figure it out. That's who we are. We're a tenacious lot. Yes, we are. But oftentimes we say, I don't have time. The reality is we don't want to make time. We have time. Every human being has the same 24 hours in the day. We have time. It's just a matter of prioritization of our goal. So let's think about it this way. Let's say perhaps you just brought on a new team member and you're training that team member to accomplish a specific task, i.e. process. Here's what I would challenge you to do. If you're working in an office environment, get a camera, turn on your phone camera, record how you're teaching them to do this new process and this new task. Have that individual, the new hire, then take your words and provide you a step-by-step process of what they heard. Didn't cost you any more time. You're the business owner. You're busy. You now subrogated or moved the process to somebody else for them to provide you the information. That's an easy way to create a process. Another way you can create a process is by simply using the recorder on your phone. Every phone these days, and to my knowledge, has a recorder on them. You could drive down the road or you could say, okay, I'm thinking about the marketing process. Here's step 1, here's step 2, here's step 3, and just ramble. Then you could go on somewhere like a Fiverr. Fiverr.com is where you can source ad hoc talent or subcontractor talent. You could find you a talent on somewhere like Fiverr and then let them take your recording and give you a process. Many of the experts on Fiverr could even give you a written and a pictorial description of the process to which you described. So friends, I realize that we're busy, but we have time. We just need to pause and identify the process. So here's my question for you as we wrap this up. Have you paused long enough in your business to identify the processes that you currently use? Great, you have. Or if you haven't, start there. Let's say you have. You know the processes your business use. Is every one of the processes delineated down in writing and placed into a management software so that you can manage your company? Justin, I don't have a clue what you're talking about. Look, if this seems overwhelming to you, reach out to us. This is what our group of business advisors do day in, day out. We can help you. Friends, I cannot stress enough that processes matter. Processes matter. Let me say it again. Processes matter. They matter. It's going to lead us into our next discussion where we're going to talk about standard operating procedures. You see, the process is the meta narrative. It's the big description. Stand by for our next episode for standard operating procedures. Till next time, friends, I realize it's hard. I get it. Life is complicated sometimes. It doesn't have to be. Let's continue to make our lives at least financially simple. Y'all make it a great one.